Hello, Capricorn, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot. My name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of May 2022. So welcome. This reading will be for Capricorn Sun, Moon, and Rising. I hope you're all doing well. I'm excited to take a look and see what kind of energy you might be working with this month. As always, I will make my usual disclaimer that keep in mind these readings are general in nature, so not all of the information that comes through will necessarily pertain to you. So definitely take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that makes sense to your specific situation. Keep in mind anything that might be useful as you move through the month and simply leave the rest. So Capricorn, another little disclaimer just before we get into your reading. I did want to just make a note. I've changed my format a little bit this month with the intention of trying to have shorter readings. April has just been a really crazy, hectic month. It's been super busy and stressful. My energy has been really off. I was actually considering not recording for the month of May. And then, I'm feeling better now and this is something I really enjoy. So I decided that I would go ahead, and I figured maybe tweaking the format so that they're not as long this month might make it a little bit more feasible for me to prepare for and record all 12 signs for May. So that's the idea. Hopefully a little bit more brief this month. I've got your one oracle card here. We will pull you some tarot. We'll get a couple of affirmations. And at the end, to tie everything together, I will pull a second oracle card, which instead of openly interpreting, I'll just read directly from the guidebook to help kind of tie everything together. And as usual, I will begin with your channeled messages. So channeling messages and information is generally what I do when I'm reading the cards. So that this like the entire reading, but I like to take some time before I get your actual oracle card out to try channeling information just without any kind of external or visual clues, just to see what comes through. So I kind of set the intention for top 5. I'm capping it at top 5 for the sake of brevity. So we'll get started with that. But as I was connecting to your energy and preparing the cards for the reading, before I was actually channeling your messages, I was picking up on a very unique kind of energy, which I figured I would share with you. It may apply, it may resonate for all of you, or maybe just some of you, or maybe just parts of it. So keep that in mind. But the sense that I got was kind of like going through the motions. So it's not being super engaged and like not having a lot of emotion. It's just kind of like going through with things, maybe kind of being on autopilot, being a little bit disconnected and numb, not in a really awful way where you're feeling horribly depressed. Like that very well could be part of it. I didn't get that sense though. The feeling that I got is like being really tired at like a soul level. It's like the type of tired with life or with certain situations that it's like you can feel it in your bones. And yeah, so kind of like feeling isolated. And the funny thing was, so I'm reading for all of the elements at once. So earth signs, Capricorn is the last. And it's funny because I did Virgo and Taurus, and then I was like, oh, who's next? And then I was like, Capricorn. I'm like, what, they don't belong here. And then I was like, wait, yeah, they're an earth sign. So you may also have a sense of feeling like maybe you don't quite belong. Maybe you're a little bit isolated, or there isn't a place for you. Maybe you're misunderstood or feeling kind of excluded. That might be part of it. And I just feel like there's a level of apathetic acceptance around it. So it's like you might be feeling a certain way about it if you are in this position, but you might not be allowing yourself to acknowledge what you're feeling. It might just be like, well, this is what it is. So this is how it has to be. And I need to say this because it came through very strongly. Like I prepared for this reading ahead of time and had to take a break. And I was actually really looking forward to doing the reading because there's very much a sense that like whatever this is, you need to hear it. It's like a very adamant energy, like whoever this applies to needs to hear this. So I don't get the sense that like this kind of going through the motions and feeling tired and like disconnected and like a little bit apathetic. I don't get the sense that that's what you truly believe. Like, I don't think that you believe that that's true and that's how your life has to be. But I do feel like you accept it because the feelings that you have might cause you to think that way. And then you just commit to it because maybe it's easier to commit to feeling apathetic and disconnected because you're protecting yourself in a certain way. So it's like, I almost got the sense that like there's a little bit of like almost self-sabotage there, where it's like, I think in your heart of hearts, you know that that there's more for you and that you want to connect with more. But I think you just allow yourself to accept, maybe less than because it's easier. So if that makes any sense, it's kind of like you're at odds with yourself. So it's like you acknowledge that there's an opportunity for more, but maybe you're just not committing right now to letting yourself access that. I don't know. But yeah, worth saying. And the other thing is like, so you either maybe shut off from your emotions entirely, like maybe you're feeling a little bit avoidant just to try and focus on getting things done, or you might not have anyone to share with, right? Like you might not have anyone that you can really truly like dig deep and just be honest and vulnerable about what you're feeling. You might not be able to do that with yourself either. So it might be like just digging deep in terms of admitting to yourself how you really feel and like the depth of your emotions. You might feel adverse to acknowledging deeper emotions or spilling your guts to somebody else and really admitting like, this is who I am and this is what I want out of life. And these are the things that I'm like disappointed about, right? Because it's like, I don't feel like you want to be in that place. I think you want the converse of that, but I think what you've been doing is kind of just maybe committing to either restraining yourself from acknowledging or expressing those emotions or connecting with people that you can share those with so that they can impact you. Sometimes we don't acknowledge things because we're trying to protect ourselves because we're not quite ready to make the step toward change, which is okay because everything happens in our own time, but that's worth saying. So we'll get into your channeled messages. I can already tell this is going to be longer than intended, so just bear with me. So I hate to say it if it's not on your mind, but I definitely got a very, very, very strong like love and relationship vibe from this. I won't be surprised if the tarot cards might reflect that as well. We'll see. But for your channeled messages, kind of seems like you might have love on the brain. This could be an existing relationship. This could be maybe you're single, you're looking for a relationship. Maybe you're single and not looking. If it's not romantic in nature, it might just be like relationships and love in general, how that plays a role in your connection to yourself and the people around you, friends and family. So yeah, just be warned. The first thing that came through is I Want to Know What Love Is, like the song by Foreigner. So I feel like you should definitely take a read of those lyrics and see if they speak to you. It's like a classic old song. I'm sure you know it. If you don't, like either way, Google the lyrics and give it a listen as well. See if it resonates with you. But it's kind of like the idea of taking some time to check in with yourself, maybe having bad experiences, being hurt before, having reasons to be closed off to love, but like still acknowledging like you want to have that experience. You want to connect with somebody who's going to allow you to have that experience, even if it's kind of scary. Like that's the general vibe, but I really highly recommend you see what comes up for you. And if you identify with that, because it could be that this month might be a time for you to do that last little bit of personal healing, or really just give yourself permission to acknowledge what you want in regard to love, and how that's going to influence like how you move forward, because it seems like this is going to be a really good month for that. I think like love and romance, or at the very least relationships, are going to be highlighted for you. The next thing that came through, it was really interesting. I didn't get a lot of like words for you guys. I got a lot of like images, like scenes, some that are relatable, others that are just completely like random. But it was like, I don't know if you've seen the movie The Grand Budapest Hotel. I kind of got a vision of that hotel. It's like this big, grand, old, luxurious looking hotel, right? So it's like, it doesn't have to be that movie specifically, but I think the idea is like a very grand old hotel, like luxury, staying there, like traveling. And then it was kind of like having a travel buddy, and it had like a very romantic vibe. Like there's something romantic about, so it could be like, wanting to go to Europe, staying in those like older heritage style hotels, like, being kind of transported back in time. Like there's something romantic about that, and like wanting to have kind of like a classic romantic like vacation with someone that you love, or someone that you see potential with. It's kind of like, I felt this like desire like to share those types of experiences with someone. So that might be something that's on your mind, or that might be like, like the fantasy that you've got in your mind about like either the relationship that you're in, what you would like to experience or what you would like it to be, or perhaps the type of partner that you would like to connect with. Or yeah, it felt very romantic, but it doesn't have to be, if that makes sense to you. The next thing that came through, I was visualizing, it was like a kind of like semi-warm spring day, and it's like the feeling like everything was wet, there was dampness, so it had like just rained, and it's like walking through a park, so like paved pathways winding, and like green grass and flowers sprouting, and like cherry blossoms, and it was like this very it was like this very serene, very beautiful kind of energy. So it was like, because it was bright, but it was overcast and it had just rained. So it was kind of like the juxtaposition of spring and beauty and things being in bloom, but the weather, it's not quite hot and sunny. And it was just this very like calm, grounded type of feeling. So that might be something that you would like to experience, maybe to share with somebody else, maybe like just allowing yourself to get out in nature and just appreciate kind of like the assault on the senses in terms of like the natural environment, like plants, animals, like the weather, all of that kind of stuff. Just like let yourself be surrounded by it, because it very much felt like being enveloped by this like very calming, beautiful, natural presence, and just giving yourself the opportunity to like be immersed in that and like let go of everything else. So yeah, so you might need some like time and it doesn't have to be that scene specifically, but maybe just some time in nature to really just connect to yourself. The next thing that came through was a vision of being in like kind of like a rustic bar restaurant. It was very like low lit, kind of like Italian feeling. It's like the idea of like pizza, cocktails, it being like nice and cozy, like soft lighting. It was like a very romantic kind of like date night vibe. So I don't know, that again, that could be something like maybe that's what you're striving for. Maybe it's like, maybe these are the types of experiences and the types of moments and like romance that you want to be able to share with somebody, either somebody you're connected with already or someone that you're hoping to connect with. So it's just like it was very like all of the stuff that came through is very like based on the senses, enjoying experiences. And it's like nothing off the wall, but it's just like being able to share and enjoy everyday experiences with a partner, and somebody who's going to appreciate those things in the same way that you would. So if that makes sense to you, great. And the final thing that came through was friend zoned. So again, we're in keeping with the kind of relationship vibe. So however friend zoned makes sense to you, like whatever that brings up in you, I would say might be requiring a little bit of attention. Perhaps you're somebody who does tend to friend zone people regularly. Maybe you're hesitant to really connect a little bit deeper or to let people in. Maybe you look at the qualities that a person expresses and immediately kind of say like, no, just a friend. And it might not necessarily be because that person can be nothing more than a friend, or you wouldn't be interested as anything more than a friend, but maybe allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough and take the time to connect with them on a deeper level to see if there's more potential there. That might be something that you're blocking yourself off from if you're feeling kind of walled off from your emotions, or like it's not like you're not safe to kind of explore or be honest with yourself about what you want. So that could be it. Or you could be somebody who finds themselves friend zoned, and it might be difficult for you to open up to new opportunities because you've been friend zoned before. And so maybe you might be going into situations expecting that people are only going to want to be your friend. You're kind of giving off those vibes. I don't know. There could be, a fear of being friend zoned that's keeping you from taking opportunities or opening up fully. Because sometimes the very things that we're afraid of and the things that we fixate on, we actually become like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there might be something to work through there. And it's also knowing that if you do get friend zone, it's not the end of the world. Because, rejection is divine protection. And if somebody acknowledges that truly and honestly you're not for them, or you acknowledge that truly and honestly they're not for you, that's just part of the natural process of finding your way through life and coming to find the person that will be for you, right? And so it's kind of like, it can be discouraging to have those types of experiences, but it's also acknowledging that if you don't really click or the other person doesn't really click and you've both like kind of given it a shot or are willing to give it a shot and you see that it doesn't work out, that it's okay, because it's better to be open to new experiences and finding somebody who's a little bit more aligned than committing yourself. So it's like not in a fear of commitment kind of way, but don't let the idea of friend zone hold you back, is what I would say. If you've got some kind of tie to that type of energy. Okay, so your oracle card is New Life, which I actually really love, especially because I was telling you, like, there's a strong kind of like romance and relationship vibe to this whole thing. So yeah, especially if you do identify with what I was saying about, feeling kind of like your soul is tired, like you're tired of your circumstances, you're feeling a little bit apathetic, maybe not particularly motivated to get out of a rut that you're in, or just kind of going through the motions, and particularly in terms of not really allowing yourself to experience or acknowledge your emotions or to express them, because it would like make it more difficult for you to just get stuff done. I think that this is going to be a really, really great month for there to be new opportunities of all kinds. And it's not limited just to like love and romance and relationships, but in all areas of your life. I think there's the opportunity for you to connect with a whole lot of new opportunity and connections and outlets and so on, new experiences, but also new levels of awareness. And so it's kind of like, as long as you're willing to acknowledge that the energy can shift, particularly the energy that's feeling kind of tired and worn out and maybe a little bit disengaged, like you're not totally present in and like drinking in life and the experiences around you. It's like, no, it's knowing that opportunity is always there. It's just a matter of you knowing and accepting it and giving yourself permission to lean into it, right? Because what happens when we're disconnected from our emotions and our senses is that we oftentimes we kind of cocoon, right? And it's like, if you feel something deeply, whether it's positive or negative, and you allow yourself to truly feel it and appreciate it for what it is, it kind of has a way of connecting to all these other little things that you feel. And so it's inevitably like, we can't just pick and choose what we feel. And when we start to connect to depth of emotion, a lot of times, like, it might be something really beautiful and wonderful and happy that we connect with. And then inevitably those feelings start rolling and there's like less desirable things that come up to be cleared and to be released. So it's kind of like, to be willing to connect with opportunity can be kind of like breaking the dam, right? Like it can all come flooding out. And I think that's sometimes what makes us fearful of allowing ourselves to really connect to emotion. It's easier just to kind of stop it all up and just say like, I'll get by just day to day, living life without anything of real note, like experiencing anything of real depth. And it's really unfortunate because in doing that, yes, we may protect ourselves from hurt from the past or difficult situations or memories that might be painful to acknowledge, but we're actually holding on to that and we're causing it to continue influencing us. But in addition to that, it's robbing us of our opportunity to grow, but it's also robbing us of our opportunity to experience like really wonderful depth of appreciation for just the most simple, basic things. So it's like sometimes we think we're protecting ourselves and helping ourselves out, but we actually end up kind of robbing ourselves of joy. And this is all about like, this is kind of like springtime of the soul, if you will, right? So think about spring. It's a time of, it's like high energy. There's hope, there's promise, there's excitement, right? It's like weather is warming up, the grass is growing, the leaves and are coming out on the trees, and flowers are starting to come into bloom. The birds are singing, like we get milder weather, and it's just like, it just feels like a renewal. And it's basically saying that this month can very much be a major opportunity for renewal and joy, happiness and celebration, like all of the things at springtime. So you think about like winter being dark and dreary and cold. It's a time of rest. It's not necessarily a time where things are really coming to fruition, or we're feeling really great about how things are moving on. And then it's like the juxtaposition of coming out of that dark, cold winter into the warmth and light of spring with all of its promise. And so it's like, you may not have like all of your hopes and desires just come like manifest immediately, but there's this sense of like, there's so much opportunity, there's so much hope, there's a new energy available to you. And I think that really allowing yourself to acknowledge and accept and to lean into that and experience it is going to have a huge impact on you this month. And so that can be in relationships. So it could be in a romantic sense if you are linked to somebody already. Experiencing a renewal in your relationship, a newfound level of trust or connection or communication, more quality time together, maybe discovering new things about each other or having new experiences, thinking about all the things that you can go do together. It could also be new opportunities, like in terms of new people coming into your life, new connections that are going to be more aligned. It could be perhaps somebody that you had been introduced to or connected to previously that maybe you friend zone, maybe it didn't work out, maybe the timing wasn't right, and now there's like a renewal in that sense, and there's kind of an optimism that might come along with that, a sense of like a willingness to explore something new, and this can also pertain to creative outlets, hobbies, jobs, money. This really applies to all areas of our life, and especially our emotions, our emotional awareness. It can be allowing ourselves to open up to having new experiences. So it's kind of like if you've just come out of a period of feeling, maybe closed off and limited, or like things are not moving forward, and then this bright energy comes in that feels hopeful and positive. It's like, it's about allowing yourself to connect with what feels good, to connect with that opportunity, because sometimes when we're in a period of darkness or rest or, things not necessarily moving forward, sometimes we can take that personally. Sometimes it makes us feel not so great about ourselves and our life situation. And sometimes that impacts our thoughts in such a way that we actually commit to things that don't serve us. And then when the things that we want start to become available to us, like in terms of new opportunities and joy and happiness and like new growth, sometimes we actively resist it or ignore it because we've allowed our struggle to take us to the point where we've decided it's just not possible, right? So it's basically saying like a new day has dawned, and it's like if you're feeling like old in the soul and worn out at a soul level, it's expressing the fact that there is the opportunity for renewal, but only if you acknowledge and you're willing to see where that might take you, right? So there has to be a sense of adventure. There has to be a willingness to kind of set aside your preconceived notions about how things might go, especially connections to the past. If there's hurt around previous experiences, like how things have gone before and feeling as though the history is destined to repeat itself, is kind of like getting out of your own way in terms of your feelings and your thoughts about how life can work for you, because there's a time for everything, right? And if this is a time for opportunity and growth, if you're busy thinking about all the ways that things might fail or all the ways that things might not progress, then it doesn't matter what's available to you. you're never going to connect with it. So there has to be some kind of like, I think it's just about being a little bit easier on yourself, like letting yourself explore, play a little bit. And I think like start having experiences and coming into them with a different perception, coming into them with a willingness to experience something deeply. Through the senses. That could be love, joy, happiness. That could be, the senses like touch, smell, taste, and like really kind of taking in your whole experience, because it seems like you need to reconnect to life. You need to reconnect to all of this stimulus that you've been blocked off from, or maybe it has been too much for you to handle previously. And it's kind of like just absorb all of that and see where that takes you, right? And the other thing is acknowledging that with new life, there's new opportunity. So it's not being tied to all the things that you've done before and all the things that you've learned before and having expectations about where that should take you. It's like treating yourself like a new life, like you're on a new path, and allowing yourself to move through that and explore that naturally, instead of having expectations as to like, how it should unfold or what it should look like or feel like or what the timeline is. So if you think about if a seed is planted and that seed is eventually going to become a beautiful flowering plant, everything happens in due time. So it's like you can't put a timeline on that. You can't put a timeline on your own personal growth either, right? Because it takes time for us to learn and develop. And if you're busy putting pressure on yourself or judging where you're at versus where you should be or how quickly the process is unfolding, then you actually miss the beauty that's available to you in the growing and the learning and the unfolding. You might actually stunt yourself in that sense, but it's also, you're not allowing yourself to experience just the beauty of what is, right? Like to get out of your own way. So interesting energy. I think that's really, really promising. We're going to get your tarot cards. So your first card for this month is the Chariot, which is Cancer energy. Okay. Your second card is the Three of Cups, which does not surprise me. Okay. Let's see. Your third card is the Eight of Swords. And we'll get you one more. Oh my gosh, this is actually so perfect. Your final card is the Seven of Pentacles, and at the bottom of the deck, we have the High Priestess. So, I really like this. So with the High Priestess being at the bottom of the deck, it's kind of giving me the impression that whatever you've been going through, especially if you agree with this kind of going through the motions, not necessarily experiencing a whole lot of, not necessarily experiencing things through the senses, through your emotions, not having a whole lot of connection, just kind of being, maybe even keeping things at arm's length a little bit and being cautious about how much you allow yourself to just enjoy or to just be vulnerable. It can be difficult, right? It can be difficult to allow ourselves to be open to enjoying circumstances or even like connecting with people because we might be afraid that that will fail or it'll be taken away from us, or we kind of get ahead of ourselves. And this is basically saying like, whatever you're working through, however you resonate, however this resonates for you, and whatever opportunities are available to you, to just kind of start stepping into a new energy that's going to be more aligned with you, that's going to feel lighter and happier. That's really very much connected to like your life path, your soul, what you feel like on an intuitive level. So it's not something that you can be taught. It's not something that someone else is going to teach you or be able to validate for you. It is very intrinsic to you and who you are. And so if you've got walls up and you're not connecting with those emotions, you have a sense, right? Like our intuition, our gut instinct, it always wants to tell us what's best for us. It always wants to tell us who we are and to keep us connected to like our core values and the things that are going to help us to live a meaningful life and have the types of experiences that we're going to grow from. And so that's always speaking to you, but it can be really easily obscured if you're not living a life that really aligns with whatever that looks like for you. And so this is basically like being able to follow your inner compass and to acknowledge what it is that calls to you, what means the most to you, and, setting aside the external pressures, like setting aside, status and money and, appearances and all the ways that people judge success, either like individual success, financial and career success, material success, relationship success, and acknowledging that like there is no right way to do anything. And nobody else can tell you what success looks like. And I think the older that we get, the more that we realize that success really looks different to each and every individual person. I think success is what makes you happy, living a life that you feel connected to, that you can enjoy, being able to provide for yourself so that you can have the kinds of experiences that are important to you. And that's not necessarily going to be the same for everyone. It's not going to fit the mold, and it's not necessarily going to be the things that society as a whole pushes down our throats, right? And so this, I think, is very much about you being on a journey to connect more deeply to yourself and like what it is that sparks your passion and excitement, what it is that's going to allow you to connect to your emotions and to be able to more gracefully navigate the difficult emotions so that you can kind of let those experiences go. You don't have to carry them on your shoulders, but also to be able to connect more deeply with the positive emotions that are going to allow you to experience a depth of love with a romantic partner or with friends, or like even just the depth of sensation in terms of like allowing yourself to go out and enjoy nature and like getting out of your head and into your body, being in the present moment. So this is very much about you learning what that looks like for you, learning to connect with that, and learning that it's not going to be something that's written in stone. It'll change as you grow and progress, but it's not something that is going to come from outside of you, right? It's something that's inside that you have to kind of, the program is like inside of you, and it's just a matter of figuring out what externally do you connect with that's going to help you, what align, right? So it's kind of like same with a partner, right? It's knowing what that looks like and feels like to you, and then being able to acknowledge when you've met somebody who is in that similar kind of energy, even if it doesn't initially look like or sound like what you had in mind. Because sometimes what you have in mind is what we're conditioned to want, and what we actually want is something completely different. And we don't realize that our ideas about a certain thing or certain accomplishment or a certain relationship are actually not aligned with what we truly want. And so I kind of feel like there might be a bit of a disconnect there, and this might be an opportunity for you to start connecting whatever that thing is for you. And it's basically saying that if you are able to kind of dig deep and acknowledge, like, if you have disappointments and hurts, acknowledge them. What does that mean? How has that been holding you back? What do you really want from life? Like, what do you tell people you want from life? And is that true? Right? What does society tell you should want from life? And does that feel right to you? And so it's kind of getting that clarity and just taking action, moving forward confidently and strongly. This is like a very, very focused, determined, confident energy. And so the Chariot can seem so fast moving and so chaotic that it could be out of control. And it's acknowledging that you have the ability to harness that energy, harness that power, harness that seeming chaos, and to maybe not control it. I don't like the word control, but manage it in such a way that you can get to where you want to be, right? And when you trust yourself, when you trust your knowledge of yourself and your ability to handle situations, the horses here represent like light and dark, right? So it can represent like positive and negative emotions. It can represent our shadow and our light, like good times, bad times. It's just, keeping things in balance. This is the epitome of keeping things in balance, but not just balance, but maintaining balance during times of really fast, intensive forward movement. So it's kind of like there is the opportunity for things to move forward really quickly and really easily. And like, especially if it's something that you're feeling like you've been waiting on, there's the potential for you to connect with something, like an opportunity that's what's the word that I'm looking for? That has potential. And for that to pick up and take off like really, really incredibly quickly, right? So it's kind of like when you find the right thing, and when you find the right thing and you're aligned with yourself and you're confident in your ability to handle whatever comes your way, you don't have to stand in your way. You don't have to impede your growth. You don't have to impede destiny. It's kind of like when it clicks and you're gone. Right? So that could be in relationships, that could be in career, that could be in your own personal growth, whatever it is for you in terms of these new opportunities, this new perspective, this new energy coming in for you, you can harness that. And so he's balanced on top of this chariot that seems to be out of control, and he's kind of keeping the dark and light in balance, and he's trusting that he can harness that energy and keep himself moving forward toward his destination. And because this is connected to Cancer energy. Cancer is all about, the depth of emotion, feelings. It's a very loving, harmonious, like family-centered energy, right? So it's kind of like trusting your emotions, trusting your emotional awareness, and that even, even the most challenging feelings and sensations, help us, right? Help us to know ourselves better and help us to have experiences that will strengthen us. We need to have confidence in our strength and our ability to handle situations in order to be able to harness this energy to move forward without self-sabotaging. And so if we don't have any struggle and we don't feel emotional pain, or we don't acknowledge it and move through it, then we can't possibly build or realize our strength to be able to, take us in a more favorable direction, right? So it's kind of like whatever that is for you, whatever feels right, whatever opportunity lines up, like jump into it, right? Jump into it and allow yourself to trust that you'll have the experience that you're meant to have, that, even if it seems like things go off the rails, that might be what you're meant to experience. Even if things are really beautiful and wonderful and they progress really quickly, more so than you could ever have imagined, it's not standing in your own way. It's just trusting that you can navigate it, right? And the funny thing is that your challenge for this month is, connecting, having deep, loving, meaningful connections with people. This is a lot of time like friendships. This could be people in your community. It's usually a card of like, connection, depth of feelings, celebration. So celebrating events, celebrating other people. This can be like soulmate energy, like soul tribe, which it can simply be friends and family or coworkers, or it can be like significant others, love interests. So it's kind of like they're all looking up at this constellation, right? And so it's kind of like the connection of like, it's being able to share yourself on a level and have connections with other people on a level that you can see when you are kind of fated, right? Like when these are your people, your soul tribe. So whether it's friends or significant others, it's like you have to be willing to open up and to be vulnerable, to acknowledge your own strengths and weaknesses and desires, and to own them in such a way that you are comfortable expressing those to other people. And it's only when you open up on that level that you give other people the opportunity to open up back to you. Sometimes you have to be the one to lead. Sometimes other people will pave the way for you and you can connect with them. But it's like, this is like the depth of shared experiences and values that allows us to kind of determine who our people are, like who the people who are fated to be in our lives are, right? And to be able to appreciate them and lean into relationships that have a greater level of depth. And inevitably a greater level of depth means more emotional intensity, whether positive or negative. But we're meant to experience both. There's no avoiding it, whether we try to live the safest, most cautious life or not. There's still going to be struggle and hurt and loss, and there's going to be the converse, and everything balances out in the end. So the struggle might actually be allowing yourself to either seize opportunities to connect with people, either connecting with new people, connecting more deeply with the people that are already in your life, perhaps reconnecting with people, and really being able to open up, to enjoy, to celebrate, to share, and to allow for a deeper level of connection. That is going to be the challenge. So you might have a lot of opportunities coming your way, and especially if it's something that you've been closed off to, or you've had hurt around, or maybe something you've been wanting that hasn't been like quite materializing, there might be a lot of opportunity, and it might be really easy to just play it safe or say no or cut yourself off. And so that might be the challenge. But your recommended action for facing that is to just be aware of all of the thoughts that you have that are based in fear, right? That are based on previous experiences, previous losses, previous hurts, things that people have said or done that cause you to feel less than, or that cause your trust to be broken. Because you can see she believes that she's bound, right? So she believes that she's bound, she believes that she's trapped and she's limited, but this is just a reflection. This reflection represents her external reality, right? And so it's kind of like, if you look at her in reality, she's not bound, but her eyes are closed and she believes that she's bound. So that's what's being reflected to her. So it's like your perceptions, your thoughts end up being true, right? Because ultimately, if you believe something and you're committed to that belief, it doesn't matter what the external world shows you, right? You're only going to see what you believe. So if you believe that, you're never going to meet the one, or that it's not safe to be vulnerable in relationships, or that you're always going to get friend zoned, or that there's nobody like out there for you, or whatever the case may be, that's going to be true. So you have to ask yourself, like, if these things that you're believing that are keeping you closed off, that are keeping you kind of like putting your walls up, cutting off from emotions, just going through the motions and not really digging beneath the surface at all, are the things that are keeping you kind of stuck in that fearful energy, really in alignment with who you feel you are and what you feel you want, right? Because quite often, what we really want is like, oh, I want to have a really beautiful relationship with like a soulmate, somebody who's going to understand me, someone that I can talk to about anything, that will understand me and I can be, deep and open and vulnerable with. We might want that, but our thoughts might tell us that that's not safe. So we might very well find somebody who could give us that and completely sabotage ourselves by getting so caught up in our head and our fears and these beliefs that seem so real, that are based on, fears and previous losses, that we don't realize that that's not actually the case, and we don't realize that we're sabotaging ourselves. So this is basically starting to become aware of your internal dialogue, right? The things that you tell yourself, the limits and limitations that you set on yourself, on your relationships, on connecting to new opportunity, on allowing your mind and your energy to be changed instead of just committing to what you've always done. It's like you very much are going to need to be willing to lean into the unknown and allow yourself to kind of connect with new energy and new opportunities, and with curiosity to see how they unfold. Like, give things a chance, right? Like, you have to give new life a chance to grow. You can't get too far ahead of yourself, right? Because that impedes the process. So it's basically like, what are the things that are keeping you feeling stuck, and where are they keeping you stuck? The place that you're stuck in as a result of your perceptions and your beliefs about yourself or others or the world around you, does that really reflect what it is you truly want and you've been trying to get to, right? Whether that's in relationships or career or with your family. So it's taking a good hard look at yourself and recognizing that a lot of times the ways that we limit ourselves, the limitations or expectations that we place on ourselves or other people, or how life events should be, they're not really real. And a lot of times they're not really ours. They're things that we've been conditioned to believe, or things that we're telling ourselves to protect ourselves from the very things that might be best for us, right? So any kind of fear of vulnerability, connection, love, and joy, depth of relationships, any discomfort that brings up, any expectations, any limiting beliefs, those are going to need to be acknowledged, right? Because it's something that you can choose to free yourself from. And the answer in terms of what that will look like is going to come from your intuition, from your heart. It's not going to be something anyone can tell you. It's not going to be something you can receive external validation over. It's something that you have to kind of decide for yourself and be okay with it. And I love this. The highest possible outcome for this month is actually seeing the work that you've been doing start to grow and bloom and take shape. So for this to be like springtime energy, like new growth, new opportunity, this is basically saying that you could very well have things that you've been trying to achieve, trying to build, trying to establish for quite some time. Maybe you planted seeds long ago and you've become so discouraged that nothing has quite started to grow that you've forgotten about them, or maybe, deprioritized, or maybe convinced yourself that it wasn't worth it. And in connecting to this new energy and allowing yourself to do this healing work, and to start moving toward a greater depth and integrating more of your emotions and emotional awareness into your relationship with yourself and others, letting go of these limiting beliefs, you might see that very quickly those seeds have been nourished when before they were starved, and things might start to grow quickly, more quickly than you could imagine, right? Or you might not realize that you've been doing work all along, and it might feel like things have been stagnating, and it's just like that last little few moments of darkness before the seed sprouts through the soil, right? So it's kind of like there is the opportunity for you to connect with this new energy, and to allow yourself to be transformed, and to kind of, I feel like there's like healing here too. And then you'll be able to see what you've been working for this whole time. You'll be able to say the ways that you've grown and changed, the way that your experiences have shaped you, and the value, right? So the value that each experience, whether perceived negative or positive, has had in getting you to where you are now. It'll give you some perspective and help you to realize your ability to influence your external environment. And what you create on the outside has so much to do with what you believe, right? And so sometimes it just takes removing those ties, those limiting beliefs, and opening up to new energy, opportunity, and possibility for this plant that would otherwise be starved to thrive, right? So maybe you are the plant, maybe these are your manifestations, your goals. So stillness is the key to success, which is funny because the Chariot is a very fast moving energy, but in order to harness forward movement and to keep your momentum, you have to have an inner stillness, confidence, and trust in your ability to keep things in balance and to navigate. So I think slowing down and letting yourself enjoy your experiences and connect on a deeper level, getting into a place of stillness, is something that will likely help. And then I let my intimate relationships be my greatest learning devices for spiritual growth and healing. So yeah, this very well could have to do with romantic relationships, if that is not the case for you. Friendships, relationships with family. It's letting yourself grow and be transformed, especially if you've got fears and wounds around relationships, around trust, around love, being able to express yourself openly, being accepted. It's acknowledging that the things you experience in relationship to other people are happening for your growth and for your healing. And you need to kind of be able to connect with the emotions that you have as a result in order to fully integrate those lessons and to move beyond them. When we close ourselves off from our emotions and those experiences, what ends up happening is we actually keep ourselves stuck in that energy. So even if the dynamic has ended and you're not with that person anymore, you could still be struggling to integrate what you were supposed to learn. And you might keep yourself in like a limbo where it's like you should have learned the lesson, but maybe you're not letting yourself move past it. And so you've got opportunities to meet people who are completely the opposite, but you're stuck in this place that you've outgrown, if that makes sense. Oh, I love this. Okay, so your stone is, I'm just going to get up and grab it. Actually, I have one. So your oracle is Chrysocolla. This is it here. Okay, so I'm just going to read quickly from the guidebook. I've already gone over my time limit, of course. Okay, so Chrysocolla, essential meaning says speaking your truth, heartfelt communication, and right speech. So there you go, self-expression openly. When you speak your truth, you are being true to your soul's desire to participate in the co-creation of a better world and a better life for you. Chrysocolla Spirit's message for clear, authentic speech that arises from your heart is this: the force of the conscious universe's love is here for you today as you choose to speak up and speak out, for you can be a clear channel for what needs to be said. Your voice is so very important, for you are a unique being with your own calling and destiny, and the conscious universe expresses truth through you. Practice choosing your words consciously as you voice a difficult truth or speak up on behalf of someone who has felt powerless for too long. Be assured that because of your commitment to heartfelt communication, your voice will ring out, cutting through the noise today. Relationship message. Trust and intimacy build when we have the courage to speak our truth, and today Chrysocolla Spirit is here for you to help support you in right speech. Speak your truth as you see it from the heart, using words that express the very best of you. Don't hold your tongue out of fear that you aren't enough or don't deserve to have your say. Practice telling the truth with love as a sign of respect for yourself and your experiences as you have lived them, and your emotions as you have felt them. Claim your voice and use it wisely and honorably, for many truths make up the collective truth we all share, and yours is no less valid than anyone else's and deserves to be heard. Then there's prosperity. We often remain silent because we don't want to hurt anyone's feelings or be embarrassed, but Chrysocolla Spirit has appeared to tell you that now is not a time to hold back your truth. Practice right speech, expressing yourself in a loving and honorable way as you discuss your business and financial dealings. Speak up about what you need and desire and what you are thinking and perceiving when it comes to the flow of money and your own desire to experience prosperity. You will be heard today. At the same time, recognize that any truths you hear from others are their truths and have value for all. Listen carefully, setting aside any defensiveness and tuning into the heart of what others are saying. You can learn much today if you are willing, much that will help you in your quest to have a firm financial foundation. And then there's finally a meditation. Chrysocolla is an excellent stone to use when we need assistance in speaking up and speaking our truth. Meditation with the stone helps open and clear the throat chakra, allowing the words of the heart to rise up and be expressed. Chrysocolla teaches us to be aware that our words carry vibration through sound and asks us to be conscious of what vibration we are choosing to send out into the world. So yeah, I think it's being aware of your inner truth, your feelings, your own internal guidance, and being able to put that out into the world. And to recognize when sometimes you might not be speaking your truth. So it's basically like the power is in your hands. And I think that's a really lovely note to leave everything on for you, Capricorn. So yeah, there might be a lot of new opportunities for you to just give yourself the space to be who you are and to say how you feel, and to allow that to impact the experiences that you're having from a place of truth, honesty, and integrity, and to allow that to open the door to a deeper level of connection with others as well. So I'm going to leave your reading there, Capricorn. I hope that you enjoyed. If you did like this reading, the best and easiest way to support me is by liking this video, leaving me a comment, sharing this content with anyone that you think might be interested. You can also visit my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and subscribe to my channel and notifications so that you can stay up to date on new videos as they're posted. So it's been a pleasure to read for you. I hope May brings you all sorts of goodness. And in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.